As of Dragon's Rising Season 3 Part 2, we have had released 517 Ninjago sets. Of course, that includes a multitude of different things like minifigure packs and polybags, but the thing is that that is the official amount of sets we have had in its 15 years. And that's an incredible number. There's so many Ninjago sets out there, to the point where it's probably near enough impossible to have each and every single one of them. Of course, someone out there probably does, but the fact is that it is very difficult. But the thing is that there theoretically could have been a lot more. And that brings us into the world of unreleased and cancelled Ninjago sets. We've probably had a multitude of them that we've never seen before, but we've had some revealed over the course of the years. So I want to go over them today and answer the begging question: should they have never been cancelled, and are they sets that you would have wanted to have had in your own Ninjago collection? The first one we're going to look at is actually from Season 1, and it's a set that we actually don't really know too much about, and it would have been a set called Lloyd's Treehouse Fortress. This set would have released in either the first or the second wave of Rise of the Snakes, and taking a look at this set now, there's not really a lot to it that we actually know of. The two images that I've shown, the one before this one and the one currently on screen, is literally all we know about this set, and this is literally all we have to go off of. The thing is though, is that taking a look at it, it's actually fairly inaccurate. This set doesn't really capture what the fortress was. This looks fairly bare bones, it doesn't really look like there's too much to it, whereas in the show, it's much more bulkier, there's a lot more wood, it's a lot more derelict looking, and it actually relies on multiple different trees, whereas this one just stands up on its own. So it's fairly inaccurate for what it is, and also it just doesn't really look all that interesting. It would have been cool to have representation for that area, don't get me wrong, but I just don't really think it's a set that needed to really get past the development stage. It wasn't ultimately actually anything that a lot of people would have wanted, and the few images that we have, all we know is that they would have had the pilot's Nia, which would have been okay, I guess. I don't believe she even released in Season 1 sets, and also there seems to be someone in the background that has Wu's hat on. He doesn't have a beard, so it doesn't seem to be Wu, so we're not entirely certain on who it is. So the thing is that it could have had some interesting minifigures, but again, we just ultimately don't really know. But in the end, I'm taking a look at it and I'm just not exactly overly impressed, and for that reason, I'm kind of glad that this set never really got too much for it. There's just not really a lot to go off of, there's not really too much that goes into it by the looks of it, and it does just seem fairly inaccurate at best. Like I said, all we know about it is that it was never developed into a set. It just seems to be that I had this initial render and this prelim idea, but that's just kind of about it. But personally speaking, I wouldn't have got it if it actually released, but I'm wondering if you would have. The second cancelled Ninjago set, I'm not really going to give a lot of time to, because even though it is cited on the wiki, I'm not even entirely certain this is real. I didn't even know this existed, and there's also only one image of it, but there was apparently meant to be a Hands of Time set that was going to be the Vermilion Swamp. This is, like I said, the only image we have of it. It looks fairly cool for what it is. You can see there's two minifigures up front. One looks like Makia, so it would have been a way to get it in a second set, which would have been interesting, and there looks to be a standard Vermilion Warrior as well. Again, I like the detail, it definitely would have fit in with all the other Hands of Time sets, but again, I'm not even entirely certain this one is actually real. So if there's any more confirmation as to this set that I am not aware of, I would love to know. But as it stands, it looks okay, but the Hands of Time wave probably just didn't really need it. It was a decent wave on an overall, so I'm not exactly missing it. The third one I want to talk about though is a fairly infamous one at that. It would have come out in the Season 8 wave, and it was the Monastery of Ice. We've had a lot of things mentioned when it does come to this set, and a lot of interesting things that has come along with it. This Monastery of Ice would have been the home to a scientist who was working on combining elemental powers within its lab, and you can see that reflected in the images, because on the inside you can see multiple different elements stood up on a table. You can also see elemental weapons, which is very interesting. This set apparently would have come with a sword of fire, so that would have been a fairly interesting thing to have looked at. The thing is that this was never integrated into the TV show, so they ultimately never actually ran with the set, but you can see it was fully done. There is so much detail and so many amazing aspects to this set. I really do wish we could have got this in person, and I know some people have reconstructed this set purely from the images, but the thing is that having it as an official release would have been a lot better, because not only is it a very interesting build and a very complicated looking build, the thing is that what also had with it was also really interesting. And that is actually the minifigures, because this set apparently would not have only have come with every single ninja, they would have also have had unique variants. Of course, this set was never actually complete, so all of them are in varying stages of actually being complete. But the thing is that you can see they were all meant to have these white cloaks over their actual ninja suits. So it would have caused these very interesting variants. You can see this mostly with Nia, Cole and Jay, because they seem to be the ones that were the most furthest along. You can see Lloyd had no interesting variant whatsoever. You can see Zane had a different shoulder armor, and he also had a white hair, but that was about it. And you can see Kai had a scarf. But the rest of the ninja actually did have, by all accounts, completed looking prints. So it would have been really cool to have actually have had these. Not only would these unique variants have been very interesting to have had, and I also do want to point out that some of them still even had their pre-movie headpieces, which is also really interesting. You can see that there would have also been another minifigure, which would have been the scientist in question. That outfit looks absolutely amazing looking. I love the head print, the torso looks fantastic. It's honestly really cool to see. Almost reminded me actually of Euphrasia from the Dragon's Rising sets. But the thing is that most of these prints now officially don't even exist, because this minifigure never came to be, and he was completely unique. But honestly, the minifigures alone would have made this set kind of worth it to me, because honestly, these are really interesting to look at. Like I said, this set ultimately never made its way into the show, and that is a massive disappointment, because that is the reason it never got produced. It would be cool if one day they could revisit this, but I highly doubt that would be the case. But on an overall, I really do wish this set actually came to be, because not only are the minifigures fascinating, the build also does look incredible. I really do wish this could have been something that we had, because it would have stood out in a lot of very different ways, and definitely would have earned its place within the actual show itself. Because like I said, there are still so many more aspects to the set that I didn't even acknowledge. I didn't even pay close attention to the unique ninja prints. Honestly, they all looked fantastic. I really do wish we got these, but as it stands, we never did, and that is an ultimate shame. So that was the Monastery of Ice. The next set we're going to talk about actually comes from the island, and luckily from this point in time onwards, we actually got a lot more information on these sets because of one of the lead designers over at LEGO. I'm going to butcher his name, but it was from Nick Van Slagmat. I'm so sorry if you are watching and you somehow are here, but yeah, I didn't know how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. But anyway, this was going to be Twitchy Tim's Bizarre Adventure. We know for a fact it was going to be a minifigure accessory pack, but it was cancelled due to a bottleneck in production. And honestly, this would have been a really cool set. There would have only been 58 pieces, but it was going to have Island Lloyd, Polaric, a Thunderkeeper, and the Twitchy Tim minifigure that we saw before he was officially released in one of the Ninjago City sets. This would have been fantastic because it would have given another island set, and it would have come with a unique minifigure. Of course, Twitchy Tim is a very major aspect of the island, so this makes complete sense in retrospect, and it is a massive shame that we never actually got it. The thing is that there were even hints of the fact that we were going to get him because of the magazines and also the trading card series. He popped up many times, and a lot of people noted the fact that there clearly is a minifigure of him, and we never actually got it. But this is actually proof that we were meant to get it because he was cancelled. So it's really interesting in retrospect, and honestly just a massive shame. There's not really too much to talk about it because ultimately, like I said, it was meant to just be the minifigures, and we know every other minifigure it would have come with. So the only thing that we can really say about it is the fact that we were robbed of the opportunity for a very good way to get Twitchy Tim. So on an overall, I really do wish that this did exist. I wish that we did get the opportunity to have this variant because ultimately it just simply would have been very nice. But yeah, this is cool. It's actually really interesting to know that that minifigure render actually did mean something. We have got 3 sets left to talk about for the video. The first one would have been Seabound, and it would have actually been a mech that was going to be for Kai. It was just going to be his own variant. And again, we got a lot of information from Nick Van Slagmat. Again, I'm so sorry. But anyway, this one is going to be a Kai mech for Seabound. It was going to be more crab-like, and it was going to have torpedo bays with spring-loaded shooters and little doors. But ultimately speaking, it was changed and it was recycled into the smaller variant, which was Lloyd's mech. And honestly, I am extremely gutted because this mech looks absolutely fantastic. I love the fact that you had one arm bigger than the other. I love the bulkiness of it. I just love everything about this aesthetic. It definitely was a bigger variant. I can definitely see what they're talking about. But the thing is that I really do think this would have worked. I'm honestly very gutted that we never got this because this would have been a fantastic addition. As far as minifigures go, we never really found out much, but the thing is that I don't really think it would have mattered. It would have come with a Kai, maybe another ninja, and some of the Murray guards. But the thing is that that build is just incredible looking. It just looks so fun. It looks so good and detailed. I really do wish they never scrapped this one. Ultimately, the Lloyd one is very nice. There's a reason why I still display it to this day, but the thing is that this is definitely improvement. Of course, you would expect it from the fact it was a bigger variant, but ultimately, I'm actually very gutted that we never got this one. I would like to know what you guys think. Would you have rather this one or the Lloyd one? But speaking of mechs, it does lead into the second to last one I want to talk about, which was actually going to be a legacy set, being the Ghost Mech. Again, according to Nick, thank you very much, my friend. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. This is a prototype for what would have been the Ghost Mech from the Titan Mech battle. Obviously, this is really interesting in retrospect, and definitely has a very different look in comparison to the original. The thing is, I kind of do prefer the original one over this one. Whilst I do like the overall look and feel of this set, the thing is that it just doesn't really strike me as what we saw as in the one with Season 5. The thing is that it's a very big departure in the design, and whilst I can still see the concepts of it, I just really don't care for it. Proportionally speaking, also, it's a little weird as well. The arms in particular just look a bit strange. So I'm honestly not mad that we never got this one, but that's also because we also know what was picked instead of this set. This one was ultimately scrapped in favor of the Overlord Dragon, and that is one of my personal favorite sets we've ever gotten. So in my opinion, this was more than worth the trade-off. I think on an overall, it's a decent looking mech. It's just not really worth where it would have been, and also in comparison to its original. And the final one for today, of course, I never forgot about it, is the Serpentine Express. This is fairly infamous in terms of cancelled Ninjago sets. This one, of course, was a Rise of the Snake set, but according to Simon Lucas, it was ultimately not produced because they had other options to choose from, like the Samurai Mech. So in similar vein to the Ghost Mech that we just talked about, this one was ultimately scrapped in favor of other sets that, in my opinion, were just simply better. The thing is as well, so this is the only image that we ever actually got of the Serpentine Express. It is extremely cool looking, don't get me wrong, but the thing is that we just don't really know too much about it. The thing is that we don't know the true sense of its scale, we don't know if this would have been the final version, we don't know a lot of things about this set, but it does look really cool inherently. But fun fact, I do have a very inherent problem with this set. And that is the fact that it's based off of actually something from the show, which was, again, the Serpentine Express. The difference is that the set in question is this locomotive steam train, whereas its show comparison was actually a bus that was turned into a different variant of a bus. And obviously the bus looks like a train, but the thing is that it's a bullet train. So why is it that it's a completely different looking train? I actually don't understand its complete design difference. So on an overall, I'm actually kind of glad we never actually got this one in retrospect, because it would have been completely inaccurate. But again, I am not saying it's bad, I'm just simply saying I'm glad with the way things actually went. But that is the last of the unused Ninjago sets that we never actually got. As far as I'm aware, there are no other ones that we're at least aware of. Honestly, if the designers are somehow watching and they want to show me some more unused sets, I would gladly make a part 2. But as of now, these are all of the cancelled Ninjago sets. And this is where I want to pass it off to you guys. Because on an overall, we have a very interesting variety of sets here that could have been produced that we never actually got. A lot here I really wish we did get, and a lot I'm kind of glad we just simply didn't. Obviously, it's all circumstantial at the end of the day, and it's all down to personal preference. But that is why I want to ask you guys, which of these Ninjago sets do you wish we got? Are there any standouts? Are there any ones in particular that you wish we could actually have in hand? Personally, for me, I really would have wanted that Monastery of Ice. It looks so interesting, and honestly, there is so much in that set that I personally would have really enjoyed, but ultimately, it just simply never happened. But like I said, I would love to know what you guys think. But I hope you enjoyed this video of me just looking over some Ninjago cancelled sets. It's been really fun, and if you do want to see more videos like this, please let me know. And if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. It's so fun to have more people to discuss Ninjago with. But if you do want to support the channel any further, which you don't have to, you could always consider becoming a channel member. You could join the legends on screen. A particular shout out to Grandmaster Sensei 28208. Thank you very much, my friend, for supporting me throughout my journey on this channel. But that is about it for today, you guys. And thank you very much for watching. Take care. Okay,